Hello and welcome back to Psych Ed. This video and the next few videos are going to be covering what is known as the Dark Triad. So just a little bit about the Dark Triad. In the past few decades, the socially aversive Dark Triad of personality has captured the attention of both researchers and the general public alike. Since the conception of the construct by Paulhus and Williams in 2002, it has been studied intensively and has had thousands of academic publications based on it. The Dark Triad consists of three overlapping yet distinctive personality traits. Machiavellianism, which is defined as a manipulative attitude, willing to deceive others to get what they want and having a cynical view of the world. Narcissism, which is defined as an excessive self-love. And psychopathy, defined as a lack of empathy and being emotionally cold while also impulsive and prone to taking big risks. Despite their diverse origins, the personalities composing this Dark Triad share a number of features. To varying degrees, all three entail a socially malevolent character with behavioral tendencies towards self-promotion, emotional coldness, duplicity, and aggressiveness. All of these three traits are characterized by a disregard of social norms, which often leads to social transgressions in terms of lying, cheating, manipulating, and stealing. Individuals who are high in the dark traits are generally considered to be untrustworthy, uncaring, and unsuitable romantic partners, backstabbing work colleagues, and cold and controlling as parents. In short, the Dark Triad can have toxic consequences for others who are on the radar of those high in these traits. However, despite the soliloquy of negativity just spouted, Dark Triad traits do have positive sides, especially in circumstances where there is a possibility to gain something for oneself. Individuals with Dark Triad traits can be loyal friends, effective leaders, and heroic rescuers. This episode focuses on the most difficult of these to pronounce, that being Narcissism. The word Narcissism is derived from the name of the Greek mythological figure Narcissus, the son of a god who fell in love with his own reflection in the waters of a spring. A healthy and even sometimes inflated sense of self can be a good thing. In fact, some researchers believe those who have had somewhat grandiose views of themselves are mentally tougher, less stressed, and at less risk for depression. However, narcissism exists on a spectrum. On one side, it's craving the occasional compliment. On its darker side, it can creep into pathological territory. It's characterized by a grandiose sense of self-importance, a lack of empathy for others, a need for excessive admiration, and the belief that one is unique and deserving of special treatment. If you encounter someone who consistently exhibits these behaviors, you may be dealing with a highly narcissistic individual. It's important to note that narcissism is a trait, but it can also be part of a larger personality disorder. The origins of narcissism, however, are not particularly well understood. The theory of social learning holds that children are likely to grow up to be narcissistic when their parents overvalue them, when their parents see them as more special and more entitled than other children. When parents overvalue their child, they see their child as, quote, God's gift to man, and are under a compulsion to ascribe every perfection to the child, which upon sober observation one would find no occasion to do, end quote. Consequently, children might internalize the belief that they are special individuals who are entitled to privileges. In contrast, psychoanalytic theory holds that children are likely to grow up to be narcissistic when their parents lack warmth towards them. When parents lack warmth, they express little affection, appreciation, and positive affect towards their child, and they show little enjoyment of their child. In such an upbringing, children might place themselves on a pedestal to try and obtain from others the approval that they did not receive from their parents. So when is narcissism a personality trait, and when is it a personality disorder? Not every narcissist has narcissistic personality disorder, and this is because narcissism is a spectrum. People who are at the highest end of the spectrum are those that are classified as NPD, but others still with narcissistic traits may fall on the lower end of the narcissistic spectrum. Pathological narcissism, or narcissistic personality disorder, is rare. It affects an estimated 1% of the population, a prevalence that hasn't changed since clinicians started measuring it. The disorder is suspected when narcissistic traits impair a person's daily function. That dysfunction typically causes friction in relationships due to the pathological narcissist's lack of empathy. It may also manifest as antagonism, fueled by grandiosity and attention-seeking. In seeing themselves as superior, the pathological narcissist naturally views everyone else as inferior and may be intolerant of disagreement or questioning. Narcissism hinges on personality traits alone, most of which are objectively negative. A clinical narcissistic personality diagnosis is given carefully, such as to someone who's experiencing social and occupational impairment and subjective distress. In other words, if a self-entitled, grandiose, empathy-lacking person doesn't see a problem with the way they live their life, they are simply just a narcissist. A clinician usually won't diagnose a narcissist with NPD until they are struggling with their behavior and seek help to change it. Narcissistic features can come from childhood environments characterized by excessive deviations from ideal rearing, where either neglect or abuse or over-pampering is present. There's also adaptive and maladaptive narcissism. Adaptive narcissism refers to people who score relatively highly on narcissistic traits. However, they do not meet the criteria for narcissistic personality disorder. While the general consensus seems to be that narcissistic traits are undesirable, this may not necessarily be the case for adaptive narcissism. Adaptive traits are related to leadership skills and a sense of authority. They tend to help a narcissist succeed in social and professional realms, and the key difference in the positive or negative effect of these narcissistic traits is believed to be the line between behaviors that occur at the expense of other people. So while the general consensus seems to be that narcissistic traits are undesirable, this may not necessarily be the case for those who have adaptive narcissism. Adaptive narcissists have the ability to win over people in multiple settings and use their own positive self-image to bolster others' belief in their own capabilities and worth. That is, the narcissist's capabilities and worth, not the individual's own capabilities and worth. Strong leaders who have a higher than average adaptive traits of narcissism can still be a positive influence in the world. Their own belief in themselves and their mission can attract the attention and loyalty of their employees or cult members. An adaptive narcissists' ability to see themselves in a positive light has been suggested as a reason that they can successfully maintain a higher level of functioning as those compared to higher levels of maladaptive narcissism. Now, maladaptive traits are considered those socially toxic traits that are related to a sense of entitlement and unearned privilege. They are the traits that are predictive of the individual's tendency to exploit other people to one's own advantage. The individuals high in these traits are the ones that utilize whatever charisma they have and any social skills they can develop to draw in others into their web of influence and power. These are the traits that we associate with sociopathic narcissists who leave a trail of damage and destruction in their wake as they force their way through life. Unfortunately, individuals with higher levels of maladaptive narcissism tend to have the need for higher levels of external ego stroking to maintain their functioning. They are basically emotional vampires who must court others in order to feed on their initial adulation. They build their social networks in order to siphon off any of the positive esteem they can harvest from other people, says one researcher. While a bit dramatic, you get the point. And that's all for this video. I hope you found it interesting, and if you do, remember to drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Also, let me know if you've experienced anybody who's may display some narcissistic personality traits in your life and how you dealt with that. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.